Wiatr kołysze w locie ćmy.
Hello and welcome back in another episode of Painting the Witcher Old World board game. This time the Witcher from the Griffin School, the last Witcher from the basic core box of this board game. As you can see, the reference card, it's pretty cool, nice colors, and we will try to keep those colors in there. However, as you can see, I've pointed out a few details that are not fully reflected on the miniature, so we'll do our best to keep it up this way. However, we might simplify a few bits in here, or I might even change some color scheme in few areas. The miniature itself was primed with the black primer from Citadel Paints, the spray one. It's pretty cool. So for the first step, we're gonna paint his face. That's the only skin that's exposed on this miniature, and we're gonna use the Bookman's Glow. This Witcher have a bit darker skin tone than the others, so I decided to use that color for the start. Obviously, we're gonna do the highlight in a couple of stages later on with some brighter tones, just to have a bit nicer contrast. But for the start, that was the color I decided to use for this. In the next step, I decided to paint his clothing. That's kind of like a leather tunic or something like that. It's a nice green color on the reference card, so I decided to mix the Rapstorm Glow with the Dead World Forest, pretty much 50-50. So I painted that tunic on the bottom, the collar and the sleeves on his arms. Next, I mixed the Rhinox hide with the Valor Brown, and I used pretty much 2-to-1 mixture, so 2 portions of Rhinox hide and 1 portion of Valor Brown, and I used this kind of brown tone to paint his trousers and the gloves as well. The left hand glow, I'm painting only from the outer side. He's using this arm to cast the sign, and I want to have this kind of like a burning effect, so I think that outside part is enough. Now I use the Naggarot Knight. There is a little part of his shirt sleeve that's visible. There's a tiny little strap on each arm, so I decided to put that kind of color on that sleeve. Next, we move to the Steel Legion drap, and we're gonna paint all the leather stripes that he's wearing. There's quite a few, starting from the boots and then all around his armor. There is a good few bits that needs to be highlighted with this kind of leather color effect. Next, we're gonna move to the white color, and we're gonna paint the triangle of the Igni sign on his hand with the pure white. And after that, we switch back to the Rhinox hide, the pure Rhinox hide this time, and we're gonna paint his boots We're gonna also use this tone, the Rhinox hide, for the shoulder pads. There are some studs on it as well, but we're looking after that later on, so just cover the whole lot with the Rhinox hide. Now we're gonna mix the Sotek green with the black, again pretty much 50-50 color tone, and we're gonna paint the sword scabbard with the kind of like a bluish black color tone. In our next step we're gonna paint all the metal parts, so I decided to use the lead belcher. However, I will darken it a bit, and I'm gonna use that mix that we used for the sword scabbard, which was the black with the Sotek green. So we'll add a bit of a darken and blue color effect to our silver tone. We're gonna paint it over all the metal parts, like the swords, the armor, all the pads, like the one on the knee that you can see now. Some of them we're gonna have a bit of a gold effect, but for the base we're gonna paint everything kind of like a dark steel, and then we add another layer of the gold here and there, just to bring those decorative motifs to the nice goldy effect. So as I mentioned, we're gonna move to the gold one, so we use the Retributor armor, and again I add a little bit of our previous silver mix. So now there's a couple tones, couple colors in this tone, and we put very gently here and there, like the knee parts, those stripes on his main armor, the Witcher sign. Those few bits we're gonna cover with the gold. Now getting back to our white tone, we're gonna put the eye white. Again, when I was putting the skin tone, I left purposely the kind of the eye holes left it black, so there will be a kind of like a deep contrast on his eyes, and I think it will look class. So just nice two white stripes for his eyes, and then our blue and black tone would match perfectly with this model. So the eyes pupils, just two stripes of that color would be perfect. As you can see in the reference card, he has a bit of a beard, so we're gonna put very watery black color for that, and then once we have the black color on the palette, we could create some green tone, add in a bit of a white, and we're gonna do a bit of a highlighting on his hair. So initially we're gonna paint it, the exposed hairs with the gray, darker gray, and then we'll be adding a couple layers, a bit more white into that, and gonna highlight those with a bit more white here and there. So it's gonna be kind of like a couple of white stripes on his hair. As you can see now, I add in another bit of white to our black, so it's on the top of his head is gonna be a kind of a firmly white accent. I think the contrasts for that will look very nice. And don't forget, you know, to add a bit of that gray on his beard as well. And next we gonna switch to the Screaming School, and I think we paint those two schools. I think these are the schools on the base itself. Now, so this is how our model looks so far. Sorry for a wee glitch with the video, but I start working on the miniature and forgot to turn on the camera after we break. But I did a bit of a dry brushing first of all with the Rhinox hide, and then our second tone is the Morphing Brown. So I used the Rhinox hide on the whole lot, and then I used the Morphing Brown very gently on the whole lot of the base, and then I switched to the Mephiston Red, which is the very red tone of the base, and start putting this color on the base and as well the red on the arm. After that I switch to the orange, which is the Trust Layer Orange, and do a bit of a dry brushing with this orange, just again a little bit less than the previous color. And once that's done, we switch into the yellow one, which is the Everlat Sunset, and again we cover a little bit less area with every brighter tone we're gonna move into. So again, we're doing both areas, the hand with the glove and the base. As you can see, I add a little bit more of that yellow on the fingers. I want that really to stand off around that model. Sorry for the noise in the background. I think some military getting the aircraft's getting some exercises. Then once we finish with the Everlat Sunset, we mixing that with a little bit of the Screaming Skull in a couple of stages, and once that's done, we painting that triangle again with that mix of very bright mix of the Everlat Sunset and the Screaming Skull. And finally, on the corner of that Ignisign triangle, I add a little bit of the pure white, just to stand off a bit more contrast. So this is how's that base looks like. I really want to have that effect of that kind of flame coming out of his hand. Now, as you can see, we doing the wash. So for the skulls, I put the Seraphim Sepia. However, for the rest of the model, I'm using the Agrax Earthshade, pure Agrax Earthshade from the bottle, but I do not put that again on the base and on that glove. Now we're gonna get back to our green, and we also use another tone for the highlights, which is the Flash Gets Yellow. But initially we start with our original green tone that we use as a base color, and then we will be adding a little bit of that yellow, and in a couple of stages we will be doing the highlights of that tunic, let's call it. So it's not the flat surface, so you can play a bit with it, and especially, you know, on the edges of that as well, we can use a very, very bright green tone just to achieve the maximum contrast on that. Now once we finish with the green, we're gonna do a bit of highlighting of those sleeves of his shirt. So again, we're starting with the pure Nagger at Night, and then we will be brighten it up with the Screamer Pink. So we'll be add a little bit to our purple, add a little bit pink to our purple, and we do tiny little highlights on that. And once that's done, we're gonna add a bit more of the pink, just to bring it up the contrast there. And now we're switching back to the Rhinox hide, and we're gonna add a wee bit of that purple color, and we're gonna do the highlights of the boots. Don't forget you have a flame effect on one of those, so try to avoid getting near it. And once we finish with this mix, I will be adding the orange tone as a highlight. I think the leather skin transfer a bit of a light from that flame, so that kind of orange highlight will look nice on the shiny Witcher boots. In my next step, I'm doing the highlights on the gloves and the trousers, so we're using again the mix of the Rhinox hide and the Valorous brown, and we will be adding a few highlights. We will be adding the highlights in a couple of stages, and we'll be adding more Valor brown to our mix in every consecutive layer we're gonna apply on our mini. Just be careful when you apply it, the highlights on the arm parts that we had painted studs with our metallic paint. So we'll just do the center of those parts in a couple of stages just to brighten them up, and then we're gonna do the highlights of the studs separately with our silver color. And next we're gonna switch to our Bugman's Glow, and again we're gonna do the highlights of his face. So initially the pure Bugman's Glow will be enough. Again, make sure you have properly watered the paint before you start applying it. We want the very, very thin layers. Our next highlight will be addition of the rat skin flesh, and we're gonna again apply very, very thin layers on those exposed areas. And once we finish with this tone, we're gonna add the Cadian flesh tone, and we're gonna do the final contrast layer on his head, especially the nose and the forehead. But as I mentioned earlier on, this Witcher on the reference card, it has a bit of a darker skin tone, so I'm avoiding the Kislev flesh or brighter. I think the Cadian flesh tone will be bright enough. And again, we're gonna do a couple of touches on his hair after the wash. So as I mentioned earlier on, mix of black and white, a couple of stages. He had a wee tie on his hair, so again I add a little bit of purple bit just to bring that up further, and our final touch will be a couple of white contrast line on his hair, just for the perfect contrast there. Yeah, so this is our model so far. Next we're gonna do the leather stripes. So again, we're gonna start with the Steel Legion drop, and we're gonna cover them with this basic color paint, and then we're gonna add some highlights in a couple of stages. So the first stage will be adding a bit of a Zandri dust, and redo them again with with this brighter tone. And once that's done, in the most kind of exposed areas, when those stripes are most visible, we're gonna do a further highlight by adding a bit of a screaming skull to our mix. Now we're gonna do a bit of highlighting on the metal parts, so we're gonna use the lead belcher with a bit of a tiny drop of the Sotte green. I want to keep that kind of the bluish steel effect. However, this time I do not add any black to it. So we cover the whole top parts of the armor. Again, once we done that, we do a bit of a further brighter color here and there by adding silver tone. This time I use, I think, silver from Vallejo. So we adding a pure silver to our mix, and we're gonna cover a little bit here and there with a very, very kind of bright metal color. And once you're happy with it, then we're gonna touch base with our gold. So again, I mixed a tiny bit of silver as well to our gold, just to make it with brighter and not as much covering as the pure Balthazar gold would do. So just a nice kind of like a bright gold effect. And for the sword scabbard as well, our original mix of the black with the Sotte green, and touch base here and there. And once you finish with highlighting with the base tone, add a little bit white and do it in a couple of stages. Now for the rim, as it has a kind of yellow dim on his game board, I decided to paint the rim with Everlast Sunset yellow. However, just to bring it up a little further on, I put some Flash Kits yellow as well. As you can see, I decided to put a bit of a scar on his forehead as well, so I mixed a bit of a Mephiston red to our skin color, just to have that kind of nice reddish, but not too much red color. And as I mentioned earlier on, the flash kit's yellow on the top of the rim, just to have a nicer color. A bit of to break down that boring base with the branches. I put a little bit of the plants there, so it's like a 12 millimeter bush, grass, you name it. But as well, I decided to put a bit of a kind of a flame light reflection, so a little bit of that yellow and orange on that plant. So now this is the model ready to go, and I hope you like this painting. I hope you like this video. If so, please don't forget to thumb up and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time on my next video. Most of the Witchers are done now. I might put the wee clip with all of them at one go. I just have one more from the Kickstarter stretch goal box, but the core game Witchers are done, so probably the next video will be with some monster. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye now.